Welcome to another episode, guys, of the Brand to Table podcast. Today we got a dear friend and somebody I've known for so long now, has an amazing restaurant and is working on some big things. And so I wanted to have him on the show today to kind of share his story and share some knowledge of somebody that's been in the game for so long. So welcome, Peter Falzo. What's going on, dude?
Thanks, Hen. It's good to see you.
Dude, how long has it been since we've known each other?
Longer than we want to admit at this point. I mean, it's been at least a decade. You know, I think we initially were introduced to each other when I was developing my menu at Peter's. So that was at least, I mean, now it's got to be about 15 years ago.
Holy. All right, so before you established Vinny's Pan Pizza, you had Peter's in Millburn. So talk to me. How'd you get into the business?
So we actually took the space for Peter's when I guess it was right around 2010. You know, the world was kind of colliding. The market crashed. I was doing random sales and business development for different companies. My father was quasi-retired, and we needed something to kind of, fend and, create some money for the family. So we were taking that space in an effort to almost try and franchise one of my cousin's delis.
Okay.
In the midst of trying to get that going and developing that brand, we realized quickly that it just wasn't the right fit for the space that we took and the environment that we were in. It really wasn't what we were going to be great at. So instead of just kind of folding it, at night, we started inviting friends, clients, guys from clubs that we were members at and things like that in for dinner. And next thing we knew, it snowballed into a restaurant. So we actually had tablecloths over deli counters and my grandmother's, linens over the deli cases and tablecloths and folding tables. And it was like, we had no idea what we were doing, but we knew how to deal with people. And it's like anything else. It's like, all right, when you're put to a flame, you learn.
Yeah.
So that was my entry into kind of, I'll call it hospitality. So in the midst of that, we realized like after a couple months of like weekends being sold out and really formulating into a restaurant, it was much easier to turn a profit as a restaurant than it was as a deli. Okay. So we closed, renovated within like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Gutted, redid through relationships, we were able to pull it off and reopened it and created Peter's. So Peter's had a fantastic run, I would say about a decade. Okay. But over the course of that decade, it's like I went through a roller coaster within that decade. It was like one of the best and worst experiences ever. Yeah. Because it's like through all that, you find yourself and you find what you want to be involved in, you find what you don't. I found that I liked hospitality to a certain degree and I loved being around it, but I didn't want to be in it in the way that it was. So leading up to that 10-year mark, my chef, phenomenal guy, I think within that time frame, he burnt out, he fried. So he gave us notice that he was like, gave us a couple months. He's like, I can't do this anymore. Super hard shoes to fill because he was part of the family. He was part of the community. He was part of what we were doing. Yeah. And it just was a snowball effect after that of chaos. I mean, chef leaving, COVID coming up, changing concepts. I started a divorce. It was like the perfect storm of
heavy.
It was heavy. But like anything else, pressure creates diamonds and opportunities and really makes you dig deep to find who you are. And I think at some point in life, everybody needs to go through something to make them, find who they are and make them grow and become the person they need to be. And they have to have those hard conversations with themselves. And it's like, to answer your question, is that hard conversation? It was like, I had very little money left in the restaurant. I was, again, going through a divorce. I was like, what are we going to do with this little bit of money? Yeah. I had turmoil within my, marriage. Obviously at the time the divorce was starting, my parents and I were at ends because they were helping me with the restaurant. It was like, I was in the middle of this and I realized I was like, I needed to just take control of what I was dealing with. And that's kind of what I did. I decided to close the restaurant. And I was like, literally like, I was very close to my uncle, who was Vinny. That's how we came up with
Yeah, so I want to talk about that. So you rebranded from Peter's to Vinny's. Yeah. Right? And that's not an easy task, right? So what inspired that besides the pressure that you were feeling?
So it was like when you're going through something, and I think you've gone through your own things, that's like kind of made you kind of be the person that you are. Yeah. You have somebody that you confide in, right? You have somebody that in life you go to.
Thank goodness.
That person, ironically, was my uncle, Vinny. Okay. He passed away literally the year we opened Peter's.
No
he
way.
unfortunately, his cancer came back and he like got consumed by it. So like even then we were opening Peter's, I was like between Sloan and opening the restaurant. It's ironic because right now I just realized that every time I reopen something, there's a lot going on. It's like a test to see how much you can handle at one point, which I just realized. But it was like, he gave me some words of advice and he was always the person that I would go to talk.
Okay.
And like when I was younger, if I was in between jobs, I worked at his pizzeria. He had a place in Livingston called Camaradas. It was probably one of the most old school places ever.
Love it.
I hated working there.
So let's open up a pizza place.
Yeah, literally, I hated working there because he didn't give a shit who you were. He didn't give a shit what you thought you could do or should do. He broke me of a work ethic. He instilled a work ethic that he mandated on people, and he did it in a way that was abrasive but loving. But it's just who he was. He was the most phenomenal guy ever. I mean, I don't think you could ever meet anybody that would not say how great of a guy he was. But to answer your question, was like during that hard time, I was like, I need simplicity. Like I need simplicity in my life. I need to just do something that's going to allow me to just do this and not deal with all the other shit that's going on. And I like had this epiphany one night in like my own little storm. I was like, I just want to make fucking pizza. I was like, I know how to do this. I was like, this space is perfect for it. I don't want to ever be locked into four walls again when my divorce is over with my kids. How am I going to resurrect this space, reinvent the brand, reinvent myself, and create something that is going to allow me to live, right? And experience life and not be trapped in four walls of a restaurant because anybody, in the beginning, yeah, you got to be married to it, right?
Yeah.
And you have to give it 110%. But it's like, how do you stay involved in hospitality, which I like, and it's a variable in the world that can't change, right? So it's a constant. People have to eat.
Yeah.
So they could change how they eat. They could change how they procure food, but nonetheless, they still have to eat. So like right now in the world that we're in, like look at what AI is doing to everything in the world. Like they could change how we're going to order food. They could change who you're ordering food from, but they're not going to change the fact you have to consume it. So I always knew that for future reasons, like this is a stable market.
Yeah.
You know, I love business development. I found that's really what I love to do is like have these conversations, play the B-roll, connecting people. I like the ground zero to operations. And then once it's operational, I don't want to say I lose interest, but I lose the thrill of the chase, so to speak.
I hear you.
And I like the thrill of the chase. I like putting ideas together. I like watching them blossom. And I think it's like that end result is like, all right, I saw something come out of that.
I think it's important to understand, like when you have this entrepreneurial spirit as you do, you love to see things built. You love the growth of things, right? And then when they're old and mature, you know, when they matured or when they got to a certain point, it's like, I want to go help something else now, right? So I get it because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. But it sounds like to me, you found amongst all that turmoil, you were trying to simplify your life, and what else to do that with is with the simplicity of pizza.
Literally.
And I've never put those two dots together since I've met you. So that's an interesting.
So I was literally like, when I'm working, while I have to work right now, I just want to stand here and make pizza. I'd make simple choices, and I don't want to deal with anything else.
Like when kids draw or like when kids play with Lego.
I found it as an outlet. I found that it reinstilled a lot of core values that I feel I lost. Like core family values, core work values, core values my uncle taught me, things that just needed to be simple, right? For me to just have some sort of growth. But in the midst of that, like I say this and it sounds corny, but it's like I found peace in making pizza.
Yeah.
I found myself through the process of just engulfing myself in the doughs and seasoning my pans and designing things and like working and just creating that. And I never got that side of the business because I was never in the kitchen of my restaurant. I love to cook at home. I love to cook with people. I love nothing more than having family over and just, you know, Sundays like a Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, that to me is like the best thing ever. And I feel like that's one thing that if I lack for teaching my kids certain things, my two boys, like they will have those values. Like we'll go to the Bronx on a Sunday morning and buy stuff, go home and cook. Like they'll remember that, and hopefully they'll transition into their kids because so many things are being lost. But I found peace in making pizza, and it was like, how do I make this now where I'm not going to be here forever?
Right. I don't want to fly over the fact that Vinny's is like a dedication to your uncle and what he's
100%.
done for you.
Yeah,
throughout your life.
It's like a lot of people that know me and like my immediate family, like some of them get it and everybody wants to like, everybody has their own story about my uncle, but it's like, he touched a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't realize sometimes when something's going on, what it does while you're in it. So it's like, I didn't, like at the time, I hated working there. It's not what I envisioned myself doing in life.
Right.
You know, I grew up with a father that was of sort of his own entrepreneurial spirit, but very business savvy, ran different companies and like, you know, suit and tie every day. And like you sometimes have a vision of, all right, that's success.
Right.
Right. But it's like, you don't realize that there's no real picture of what success is. You know, everybody needs their own definition of what success is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What fulfillment is. And I don't think that it's a monetary thing. I think it's a self-satisfying thing. I think it's a self-gratitude thing of feeling fulfilled and feeling successful, because I think that comes in a lot of different forms, right? Yeah. I needed to know that I could build something on my own with nobody around and know that it was successful.
Okay.
And I did that with Vinny's, and I think that gave me the confidence to go out and now do a lot of the other things outside of there that I do, with knowing that my decisions and my leadership was enough to make that happen. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And what better to have all this done in memory of your uncle?
100%. You know,
Right.
I think somewhere out there, it's like we joke and it's like, oh, he's looking over, but he isn't. It's like, I know that he's like, I like to think that he's proud of what it's evolving into, because it's like something that he did for so long.
Yeah.
Is now being able to kind of be reestablished. Yeah. And I took a lot of what he did, changed a little bit, but I took a lot of what he did and just put it in my own terms and my own spin.
Yeah. All right, so let me ask you this. How did the Millburn location, once it transitioned into Vinny's, how did the community feel about it? Did you get pushback? Or were they welcoming you with open arms?
So listen, we were in Millburn and that area for 10 years, right? So within a 10-year span of being in a community, which is like really cool, like you see kids and families evolve in 10 years, right? Yeah. I saw people move out of Manhattan. I saw them have children. I saw their children grow up. I saw them go to school. So it's like you become, with the right relationships, and like I feel that's what I'm very good at, as relationships. You are able to kind of capture that audience, right? So if you do the right thing for them for a long period of time, regardless of how you're in their life, they'll support you. Yeah. So it's like I had an overwhelming amount of support when I was starting to reopen the place. Like, yeah. It actually worked against me, because I knew I had to get open, because at that point I was really low on finances, because I was like, I had paper on the walls and I was like, I'm not opening until the pizza's exactly how I want it. I'm just not doing it. So like, I was like, you know, nobody was really telling me anything at that point. Nobody had any decision power but me. And I was like, you know, people that I knew and guys that knew, my dad was like, you kind of need, like, what are you doing? You need to open. And I'm like, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. Yeah. And then I got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to do a test run. Okay. So I like went in my cell phone. I wrote down like 200 names for people that I knew over the years. And I was like, I'm going to select a group of people that I know that if it's not a great experience, they're going to tell me. Okay, good. They're going to be patient. And they're going to let me grease my wheels. Okay. And let's just say that from that greasing, it just was a fucking domino that was like, ping. And the next thing I knew, I was open. Okay. I didn't have a POS system. I didn't have staff fully operating. I was fucking scrambling. I was like, holy shit. That doesn't exist in Short Hills. I wish it did, because it doesn't. But unfortunately. So it was like, I was out of the gates and I was like, phew. Yeah. So it was like, you know, even now, and you help me with branding stuff now, it's like, all right, now knowing what I didn't do when I first opened, which we'll get into my next location I'm opening, it's like, how am I going to do this without it becoming a storm? Yeah. So like, you have to think through that. And like, listen, do I think that was great because it didn't give me time to think about, overthink anything? I was just in it. Yeah. You know, I was just in it and it worked. And then the next thing you know, it was like that one night that I did a pop-up to, the next night it was this, the next, it was like, it snowballed. So you built a lot of buzz around Vinny's, right? So what helped the brand break through that noise? So it's like, I like branding and marketing. I could tell. I like it. So it's like, and you're good at it. I mean, I think that's, you know, sales, branding, marketing, people. I like to try to understand markets and people, and like, how do you appeal to a market, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not going to say I pioneered pan pizza, but I definitely was ahead of the curve, because now there's like an influx of all these people all of a sudden making pan pizza.
Yeah.
And a lot of it like could be because of Portnoy likes that style, could be whatever it is. I didn't have a clue about any of that stuff while I was doing this. I just knew that this pizza's how my family did it. This is how I'm going to make pizza. And I was like, how do I market this and brand it? And like, I always like to try to make things, I want to appeal to a certain market, right? You want to appeal to, you know, those 1.5 to 2%ers because they do a lot less thinking about what they're spending and they do a lot more buying. So what they're, you know, that was kind of like, I'm in Short Hills. I understand that market extremely well.
Okay.
The Manhattan mindset, how do you create that buzz, clean, healthy, elevated in the same breath? How do you appeal to a mass market?
Yeah.
So I kind of always kept that like right here, but pizza is a type of product when I was developing my next steps that everybody eats.
Sure.
It goes across the board.
Yeah.
So that to me was a very appealing market. And it's like, how do you step one above that? How do you appeal to that one click of where you're not the Domino's or the Papa John's or the guy that's giving you 2 pizzas and get 1 free soda? Because I never want to be that guy.
Yeah.
They're not the people that I want to deal with because they're the hagglers and they're not the constants. They're not somebody that's going to order from me every week. They're chasing a coupon. So I took a step back and I was like, how am I going to appeal to these people but still have growth? And that was kind of the mindset that I kind of went into with was like, you know, focus on the brand and not the personality, which was one thing that you and I have always kind of spoke about. Was like the sit-down restaurants, the seated restaurants, if they don't have a phenomenal personality, they're doomed.
Yes.
I don't care what restaurant you go to. If there's not somebody there that knows before you even know what you want, it's over.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be felt special. And I think that's very important. Like, it doesn't matter if you remember that, you know, Joe Smith likes his napkin on his left side versus right, or he doesn't want ice in his glass. Like that little tidbit of when somebody shows up, that they'll remember that and they know that they feel special, that you remembered them for whatever reason it is. You might not know their name, but you know he didn't want ice in his glass, whatever it is, right? It does not matter. He didn't want to sit there. He wanted to sit there. And those are the things that I think people really have to refocus on. And I didn't want to be responsible for being a personality anymore.
Yeah.
I wanted to build a brand, right? I wanted to build, and I use this analogy and it's large, but if you don't think large, you don't get to that point. Like if you see an M with golden arches, it doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the desert
you know what it is.
On Mars, you know it's McDonald's.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, how do you build a brand that now is digitally recognized? Because, you know, I don't really have seats. So I wanted a delivery-based brand. You know, I met with a group, I do business development. So I met with a group from California that I brought a deal to. And I hit it off with this guy. His name's Troy Hopper. He had a brand called Nourish Brands, and now I think he's developing something called Pepper something out of California. He's scaled it like crazy. But like, I knew that I didn't want to be a stereotypical pizzeria. I want to be like the Jersey Mike's of pizza. Okay? Because, you know, now that I'm giving out what I want to do, hopefully everybody's, you know, picking up on those pieces. But that's essentially where I want to see the brand going, right? Because it's like, they're not Subway, because I wouldn't. They're not Subway, and they're not the old school deli that you're going to for a sandwich. They're somewhere in the middle, right? Which is where I ultimately want to be, somewhere in the middle. Okay. So that to me was where I was like, all right, we're going to build a brand that's recognizable. And now I focused everything on the brand and not the personality. It was the brand and the food that was the front of it. And I made sure that was always what I was doing while I was building that brand. And I took a different route where it was like, all right, the internet's now accessible. You have this huge market out there. And I didn't really realize how large the pizza community was. And I think after COVID, it really escalated the growth of the pizza community because Portnoy, whether you love or you hate him, he created something for people to do while COVID was going on. Yeah. Right? He would go review a place and he definitely saved a lot of places. And people don't realize, like, they talk a lot of shit about him, but like, I respect that he genuinely does the right thing when he can. Yeah. And if he doesn't like what you have to say, he tells you. You don't have to like that he does that, but it is what it is. Right. He raised a lot of money for a lot of people that needed it. Yeah. But he created this culture of pizza that had people going out and trying all this stuff. Now, with all due respect to Dave, he was never going to make or break my brand as far as I was concerned. Like, if you're relying on one person to build your business, it's not really a great model. No. So like, that's kind of like where I saw the pizza community going. It was growing. And then when I got in it, I was like, oh my God, there's all these groups online.
Yeah.
This is wild. And like, there's a guy that, his actually name is Guy. He started Jersey Pizza Joints, which has a huge community. It's got like 100,000 plus members on it now on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's like, I gained a lot of traction there.
Yeah.
And I got into a routine of.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I know you have like a love-hate relationship. You've been blowing up on social. I mean, that's how I found you. It's because there was that couple years hiatus where we lost touch a little bit. But when I heard this Vinny's Pan Pizza over and over and over again, I'm like, wait a second, that's Pete's place?
But I liked that you didn't know that it was me. That was my intention.
That was your intention. So I found you actually on the Pizza Joints Facebook page, right? So I know that you've been cranking on social, but there's been like a little love-hate relationship with like influencers that come in. And I wanted to get your take on that, because I see the pluses and the minuses of this whole influencer marketing game.
It's a game.
It's a game.
It's a game that I like to play. It's a game that I involve in and I play, right? But it's like, I don't pay anybody. Yeah. I've never given them.
You play on your terms.
I play on my terms, because with all the respect to influencers and what they do for giving exposure, it's like, when we grew up, if you wanted to go out to a great restaurant, how did you gauge it? You have something special going on. You and your wife have an anniversary. How do you gauge where you want to go? How did you do it 5 to 10 years ago?
Yeah, that word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
It was word of mouth.
Or Zagat's, Michelin, somebody that was a real editor, a real editorial, that had culinary experience, that wrote. Yeah.
They had a reputation.
It wasn't, and I say this softly, it wasn't somebody who had an iPhone, who never worked in a restaurant, never went to culinary school, never did any of those things or accolades to really have credibility. There's some that are.
Right.
And because they genuinely care, but there's some that found a niche in a market because they got these followers. And listen, did they help me? Oh my God, they do. And I'm greatly appreciative of all of them, but it's like some of them are solely about how they're going to grow their own existence, because that's their business now, right? How are they going to get the most out of what they're doing? And I have a philosophy about that. Without us in hospitality, you have nothing, because you have no content. Respectfully.
Right.
You're not cooking, so unless you're going to go home and start your own cooking show and post your own stuff, you don't really have much to post. So if we're going to work with each other, I'll buy you a meal. You can come eat with a friend and your family, and I'll donate maybe to a charity that you like, but you're not getting $1 from me, because I feel like we have to be on the same page. And it's like now, my girlfriend and I were where did we go? And we were like, we're never doing this again, because she's phenomenal on social media. She's got her own little following, but she's not a critic by any means. But we love going out and eating and doing this stuff. It's just part of who we are. And I'm like, now it's like, if somebody gets paid to give you this review, it could be awful. And they're still telling you it's great because they got that check. They got that Venmo. They got the meal. They got something. So it's like, you really have to be wary of how you utilize the influencers. Like, there's great exposure. Like, I had one that I was working with, right? And he was working for a company, and really nice kid, really nice guy, kind of immature in certain regards. I felt like we had a good relationship. And the next thing I knew, I never really paid him. He was doing stuff for me because he was in like an awkward transitional point in his life. And I was like, you want to come and make content and use it to do what you're doing? That's great. But like, I'm not putting you on payroll because I don't need you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need it. So I don't need, respectfully, I don't need somebody to come in and tell me how to market. Like, you have never owned a business in your life. You're not going to tell me how to market. I learned a lot from when I was younger, working for great marketing agencies and great people. It's how I learned a lot of stuff. So I was like, not that I don't want to learn from somebody, but like, you're not going to come in and dictate how I'm marketing to my people. Like,
sure.
In the story.
Sure.
And like, next thing I know, like, he's running around doing all the same shit in all the same places. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't fucking do that. Like, you can't come in. It's like, not even for me. You're doing it to this guy. Like, you're doing it to that guy. You're doing it to this guy. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, if they're not even your thoughts. Like, if you're going to come up with something, use your own thoughts. Don't duplicate what somebody went through hell to figure out, and now you're going to pawn it off as your own. Get the fuck out of here. Like, it's not how it rolls. But like, I feel, going back to influencers, like, there's a transition coming. Because I think they saturated the hospitality market to the point where now they're giving any review they can, because now in New Jersey, it's a small market. So if you're not in Manhattan with the big dogs, like really big dogs, like you're not with an agency, you're not with this, like there's only so many places you can go.
Yeah.
Before they're gonna be like, what else you got? Now that's happening, and not only are they giving poor reviews because they're going to places that actually aren't even good, so they're losing credibility. It's like now, like somebody like me that's had followed somebody that gave poor advice, like I'm not gauging, but I miss the eras where it was like somebody with actual credibility
came in. Like the Frank Brunis.
Yes.
Right?
Wrote about you.
Right.
Reviewed you and helped you to grow traction.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to say that I don't appreciate them. And listen, I'm reopening and I can't wait to get some of them. They were a lot of fun. Yeah. There's a lot of great guys out there, like Tipsy Critic.
Yeah, he's great.
Phenomenal guy.
Yeah, Kyle's great.
Kyle is phenomenal. He is educated. He's smart. He genuinely cares. He's not taking checks to just write reviews. If he doesn't like something, he's polite enough just not to post it. You know what I mean? Like he just doesn't do it. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of other guys out there too that are the same way. Yeah. You know, and that's kind of who you want to surround yourself with, right? It's like, and I'm competitive by spirit. I'm, you know, passionate, which could turn into, you know, different side of me.
I love it though. I love it.
Listen, it is what it is. It's who I am. And like, but like, I now know the people I want to be around, the people I don't.
That's it.
And like, I think that now going forward, it's like, I might approach this differently with my next place, where it's like, I'm going to kind of revert back to trying to do this organically.
Okay.
And not so heavy with people that are influencing.
So let's talk about that, because I don't want to run out of time here.
Yeah.
You have a second location opening up in Brielle, New Jersey.
Correct.
So how did we pick that spot?
I love the beach. I like South Jersey. I looked up here for like a year, no longer than that. It's gotta be like, I looked up here for like 2.5 years.
Really?
Trying to find something. I really wanted to own the real estate and buy something and, you know, have an asset behind the business, because that's just a good business model. And I'm like, so my cousin, when I first opened up here, was a huge support pole for me, because he helped work for my uncle. He was in hospitality, opened bars, restaurants, big places that we all know, huge personality. But he and I always had this great relationship. And I think when I started going through my divorce, he kind of saw the turmoil I was in, but he stepped up more than almost anybody I know, because he knew how important my kids were to me. So he would come up, he would drive 4 hours a day to come help me run my place in Millburn. If I had my kids, he'd drive up. He'd work to let me go see my kids' game. He'd work to let me go to back to school night. He worked to make sure that I was involved with my kids. Awesome. And we worked well together.
That's awesome.
And he believed in what I was doing as soon as he saw it. He's like, you know, you're on something here, right? And I'm like, I hope so, because I really don't want to go backwards again, because it's not fun for anybody.
Right.
So to answer your question, is he lives down that way. He called me. He's like, dude, you got to come see this place. It was actually next to a brewery in Brick. And I was like, dude, I don't really know that I want to open up in Brick. It's not really the market I want to capture. I like the train line. I like this. But he's like, just come see it. He goes, it's great.
Yeah.
In the midst of going down to see it, another guy, I was driving back from it, and I saw it, and it was not really a great fit. And I was on the broker's Instagram page, and like I looked at it, I'm like, why didn't you show me this? I called him, why didn't you show me this space?
Yeah.
He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you didn't show me this space, but why didn't you show me the space? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, well, I want to see it. I'm going to go Tuesday. I want to see it. I drove back down the shore, and he showed me the space. And then I looked around, and he told me, I was like, I had this like feeling, right? You have to have a feeling.
Absolutely.
And like, I got a good feeling. I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I felt it. And I was like, I'm taking it. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just send me the lease. I want to review the lease. I said, I think I want it. He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And then I found out, anybody from New Jersey knows Joe Leone's.
Sure.
That's where Joe Leone started. It was his first place he ever worked. So it's got good juju.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so that was kind of one of the reasons why I chose Brielle, because Brielle is, to me, is like the Millburn of the shore. It's a certain demographic. It's a year-round community. It's down by the shore. I wanted my cousin to come into what I'm doing, because you need people around you that you trust. So he's coming in as a partner with me on this next location. Yeah. And he shares the vision, right? You need to do it with somebody who shares a vision. You know, you're working with me on my branding stuff now. And a lot of the reason why I chose to work with you is because when we just did a catch-up, you understood my vision. And it's like, you say, how do you grow and how do you do things? We have this conversations like off mic, and it's like, if you don't have people that share your vision or share where you want your brand to go, you're not even going, they're not gonna push that boulder up the hill with you.
Right.
They're gonna stand there and watch you push it.
Right.
And I don't have time to play that game.
Yeah.
I'm approaching,
This is a good question. So what do you want Vinny's to represent as the brand grows into multiple locations?
So I think, it's a hard question to answer specifically. It's like,
that's a big branding question.
It is. So it's like, I want it to represent core values.
Okay.
What
are they?
This, like, where were we? I like to believe we're the old school meets the new school.
Okay.
An old school, old world product, but with a new school frame of mind.
I love it.
That's kind of where I like to see the brand. When people ask me, like, I'm like, we're the old school meets new school. It's an old school product, right? Something that you'd get back in the day where it's not cutting corners and it's a little harder to do than most stuff. But it's a new school way of procuring it, right? We're a delivery-based business. I added tables in Milburn. When I first opened up, I had one table and you weren't allowed to sit at it. It was literally for, like, my kids came.
The VIPs.
I needed to sit at a laptop.
Sure.
I needed to take a meeting for the other stuff. Like, it was literally because I was married there. I needed somebody to be. Yeah. I dressed it up.
Yeah.
There's pictures of it. Yeah. Candelabras, white linen, white plates.
I love it.
It was cool, but it said reserved on it. Yeah. So, like, we're delivery based, and like that's what I want to stick to. That's the way I want to design the brand, because I want it to be that digital format where it's an online presence, where it's like, no matter where you are to order from, if you're with a group of people and you end up down the shore, you're like, oh, there's a Vinny's there. Let's just order Vinny's.
Yeah.
Right? You stand behind, and it's consistency. So it's like, if you're down the shore and you want to order something, to order from this person. If you're in this area, to order from this person. It's just, that's the goal, right? So it's the scale with keeping consistency and quality, but maintaining core values and, maintaining the core values of what the brand is initially supposed to do.
I love it. So what advice would you give a restaurant owner that's listening, watching right now, who's on the cusp of rebranding?
First off, take a deep look at really where you want the brand to go.
Okay.
And what you want the brand to represent and how you want to be perceived by your market and your public. Look at the area that you're in around you and your demographic and your peers, so to speak, and learn from what successful other brands have done and be a little bit of a copycat with it.
So success leaves clues.
Correct.
Use those clues, make them your own.
Make them your own in your own way, shape, and form. I'm not trying to copy what other people do, because it takes the fun out of it, and eventually that all comes up and comes to fruition, and that's never a good thing. But I feel that you really have to take a good hard look at what trends are going on, but you need to be ahead of the trend, right? Like, I think that now with AI and digital formats, there is so much accessibility to creating such cool content and brands. And like, we've spoke about content, and like, I don't understand what some of these people are doing. I don't get it, because they should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because that shit's never going away. Some of them look like they should have red noses on. Like, if you're expecting me to do some of these skits to try to get people to come eat my food, there's no fucking chance that's happening. Because it's like, you're diluting your brand.
Yeah.
Like, your brand, to get back to what you're saying, your brand should represent you and your product, and that's what you should focus on.
Yeah.
You should focus on what the product represents and what the brand represents, and not get engulfed in the trends of, these ridiculous TikToks and ridiculous skits that people do to get views, because views don't dictate dollars. Correct. Okay. And also be weary of, when you do play with influencers and you do play with branding groups and you're playing online, like, be smart enough to go into their stuff and look through it, because the micro influencers are way better than the macro influencers. Because a macro influencer who has people from Nebraska following them because they juggled a pizza on their nose and caught it on their head, are not going to do you any justice. They're not coming to buy anything from you. They're not going to support your brand. I feel some good insight is I get a better response from a smaller influencer who's from an area specific to the area than I do from some person that comes from outside the country, or excuse me, outside of the state. They're not going to give you a market share.
No.
You're not capturing their market. So like you find somebody that's got 100,000 followers and you're like, oh my God, they got 100,000 followers. Look at this is great. And 500 of them are from New Jersey. It's useless.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of insight.
The thought process, and I've seen this with clients because they approach me and they say, I don't want anybody with 40,000. I want somebody with 250,000 followers. Their thought in their mind is, it's just a numbers game. And because they have that many followers, that of course it'll be that much more and it's not.
It is a numbers game. 2% of 5,000 is a lot more than 2% of 500,000.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's I'm not really great with math, but I know that much. And if you scale down and you get a bigger percentage of a smaller group,
right,
you're capturing more market share.
Exactly.
And that's the goal, is to capture more market share with little dollars. You know, from a marketing standpoint, like respectfully to you, you're the first person that I've teamed up with that I've invested into the marketing side of it. Until this point, I haven't spent $1.
No.
Other than the stuff I've done for myself, and spend the money on something that's going to last. Spend it on something that you're going to be able to reuse. Spend it on a great photographer. Spend it on a great videographer. Spend it on learning something that's going to be able to use it over again. Don't spend it on paying some influencer to come in and blow you up for 2 days.
Right.
Because that fizzles out real quick.
Right.
You asked me off Mike, you're like, dude, what was it like when Portnoy came? And I'm like, it was wild. Everybody's like, oh, that changed that changed everything.
And he gave you an
for
8.3. That's a serious score.
We got a great score. You know what was even better about it? Respectfully, not the people that I wasn't working. I was on the beach when he came. I was watching it on camera. So for me, it was like, I literally just fired somebody because I vowed that a chef would never hold me hostage ever again. And they don't, because if somebody doesn't play by team rules, they're out. Because I can make my own pizzas.
Sure.
I could cook everything in the place. I could do everything myself. I don't want to say that I don't need anybody, but nobody's going to disrupt the progress. If you're making waves in the pool for everybody, you're out. Somebody made waves, okay, their own waves. His waves happened to come from a case of Coors Light, but he was out.
Okay.
So I was working like crazy. At the time, I had a great manager. He's a great guy. He was with me for a long time, and he worked with me. He trained. He understood what I was doing, and literally, he's like, "Dude, Portnoy just came," and I literally was like, and I told him all the time, I'm like, "Just leave him alone."
Yeah.
My advice to anybody that's in pizza industry: if he comes to you, leave him alone. He does not want you to tell him what to do. I promise you don't. Just whatever happens, happens. But if you're relying on one person to define your future, you're doomed.
Yeah, you don't have the
You're
model.
doomed.
You don't have a
It's
model.
nice to get credibility, and I love that I got the credibility. But I don't put his stuff on any of my branding. I think the first time I did it was right now because I'm going into a new market, and it helps me to gain some traction, right? So I did
trust and all
But
that.
for the reality of it, it's not on my shirt. It's not on my branding because I'm not allowing something else to define what I'm doing. Maybe I'm wrong for doing that. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. But in my own head, to me, it makes more sense to be my own credibility and let other people, the basic population, dictate what the consensus is. But to answer back to what I'm saying is, yeah, it was wild. It was wild for like 2 months.
Wow.
Right? 2 months.
Yeah.
It was and I handle pressure in the pizzeria pretty well where I just have accepted it, right? And that night that he put the video out, I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, my manager used to listen to this awful music. And I was like, and music is part of our vibe in my place. Like you come in, we got music a little louder. Like not that it's like you can't think, but it's like, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it's part of the vibe. It's part of what we do. And it's like, kind of helps me get into it. And I love music and my uncle loved music. Like it's just kind of about who we are, right? Yeah. Whether you realize it or not. So like he had some music on and I was like, it was a Friday night and I was like, it was chaos.
Gotta go.
And I was like, what the fuck is this kid listening to? I was like, dude, and I like went on my phone to change it. And like, I went on my phone and I usually don't touch my phone during service. Like for those 2 hours, A, I can't, and B, it doesn't matter if it's going on unless it's my kids, I'm not picking the phone up.
Yeah.
And I looked at my phone. I had literally like 200 messages. And I was like, what the fuck happened?
Wow.
I thought something bad happened.
Yeah.
And it was all everybody like congratulating me. And I'm like, what is going on? And all of a sudden the phones went crazy. The tablets were crazy. Everything got so out of control. And I just looked at the girl that runs all that. And I'm like, turn everything off. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, shut it down.
Yeah,
I'm like, shut it down. I'm like, this is not good. I'm like, so shut it down. We got to get control of this.
Wow.
So it was, but that fizzles out.
Yeah. That what goes up.
That's
comes
my
down,
point.
right?
Is it fizzles out? So it's like it ran its course. You got your credibility. Every once in a while, I throw up, hey, thanks for coming. I greatly appreciate what it did for me in that time. Sure. It's a nice stamp of approval, right? For competition reasons, it's good.
Absolutely.
But like, not banking on that because it fizzled after a little bit.
And next thing you know, he's in the press or he's on the media for something negative, and all that goes to shit anyway, right?
It does. Or it goes to the next place and then somebody chases it. And then it's like this. And like, listen, he's saved a lot of businesses.
Yeah, what I love about you is that you're confident in yourself, you're confident in your brand, you're confident in the ingredients and the process and everything that you make at Vinny's. You're going to stand behind that, and you're going to lean on that versus you're going to lean on a quick marketing buzz.
Can't.
Right? You can't.
It doesn't last.
So let me ask you this. Well, first I want to say something. I've said this to you off camera. I'm going to say it to you on camera. I am so proud of you as a person and where you've come and how you've gotten here. It was no simple walk in the park. And it took a lot of self work. And that takes a certain somebody, because let's just say, and I'm not too sure on numbers, so I won't say that, but the suicide rate these days are
I wasn't that far ahead.
No. But it's out of control. And people are, I'm seeing it over and over and over. So we have a friend up at school. My son goes to school with his son, and he's the chief medical examiner for Sussex County. And, he comes over and he's so desensitized from what he does, right? But when he says the OD here, the suicide there, and it's just constant. And I'm like, Lou, I don't know how you do it. But he's like, I've been doing this since I was 22 years old, but those numbers are up. So I don't want to go off a tangent here.
I was 22.
Yeah, but you got through all of that. You found pizza to be the bridge, to make that, to get you to where you're at today. That's fucking huge, dude.
Thank you.
And number two, like, you got location 2 opening up, but we have our conference, we have our branding meetings and our marketing meetings. We're not stopping there. So what's the future for Vinny's?
No. So the goal is to make it scalable, right? That's my goal. I already have number 3 is like right here, and I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. But I have markets that I want to get into, and it's like, I want to ride it as best I can without losing what it is. And I'm happy that we were able to formulate a team that's capable of sustaining what's going on in Millburn and understands what the goal of the company is to move to that next step, right? I always kind of was like, and my father in his generation was like, all right, slow down. You're like,
my dad the same way.
I was thinking, I was like, I want to be there, I'm going to this, I'm going to that, I want to this. And he's like, just do, and he was right about some of it where it's like, just do that one day at a time.
Yeah.
So, which is what I still try and do. Like, in the midst of opening a place, like, the world kind of shuts down around you, which is where I'm at right now. Like, I literally yesterday for the first day, it took a day, I was like, there's not really anything I can do there. I'm just going to take a day back and go to lunch with the guys.
There you go.
I'm going to act like a gentleman. I'm going to get my shit together and I'm going to regroup, because I know that when we open, I'm in it. And that's what I love. I love being in it for that period of time. I find that sometimes it's not great, but under pressure is where I find myself really kind of thriving for whatever reason. Not that I want to be in that all the time, but like, and not becoming complacent. So I think that I delayed the second one because I was so comfortable in life, and I was able to travel with my girlfriend. I was able to spend good time with my kids. The business was running well, and like, it got to where I wanted to be. But it's like, all right, it's time now to put the pedal down. For a little bit, for some personal reasons, I kind of drew back, where it's like, sometimes your success is your enemy. You know, that not everybody's your friend.
Yeah.
They may tell you they're your friend, but they're not. Yeah. And, you know, through a shitty divorce and some toxicities in life, you realize who you want around, who you don't want around, what you do want in life. So it's like I diluted what I wanted to do because I was afraid of it having a negative effect on me. Yeah. But that's over now.
That's it.
So in life, you either take what comes with you and you hold it and you're accountable and you just go for it. And that's kind of where I'm at now is like, I've learned from some great guys in the industry of how they've scaled and their scalability. And that was the goal, is to create something that's scalable. And I feel that it is scalable. So I don't know where I want to stop. I mean, the goal is to get to a certain point, and now the world has changed. Like, you know, what I do outside of the pizzeria exposes me to some really great people. And I learn from them, right? I don't learn from sitting in a classroom, or I learn from reading books, and I learn from asking questions and being exposed to people. It's the best way that I learn. But a lot of these funds now, right? All these big funds and hedge funds and REITs and finance groups that were investing millions, if not billions of dollars into real estate, into technology, into things that people, you know, were futuristic about. They're not doing that anymore. They're going at hospitality.
Yeah. Because
like I said, when we started, it's a stable market. Food is stable. It can't change. It matters how you evolve with the hospitality world is how you grow. So the answer to your question is, I don't know where I'll stop. I hope I don't have to stop. You know, I
don't think it's in your blood to stop. But listen, Pete, so happy to have you here today.
I appreciate it.
And we had a great conversation. We got to have you for round 2 soon.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
And thank you again for spending the time with us.
Yeah, I look forward to growing with you, and thanks for having me on.
Awesome. There you go, guys. Another episode in the books. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, share this with a fellow person in the industry. I know you got some bits out of this conversation, and I just want you to take it and run with it. Do something with it. Don't just listen. Actually take action on it, because that's how you're going to move the needle. Have an amazing day. I'll catch you on the next episode.